Hey, everybody, and welcome to this evening's interview. You are on the line now with myself. I'm Godbold, the founder of the International Academy of B-Sharp Teachers. This is our March 2013. Nope. Let me take that back. This is April already. April 2013 Ed Pro interview. And this evening, we have a very special guest on the line, Stephen Burgor. Stephen, are you with us this evening?
I am, Wynn. It's nice to meet you over the phone.
Yes, fabulous. Stephen is another contact that I have made via the interwebs. Y'all know how I love to be on the internet and getting to know all of these folks. And most importantly, bringing to the members of the International Academy of B-Sharp Teachers people within the field of education that otherwise you guys may not have the opportunity to hear from. And we are so in luck because tonight we have another awesome story from an educator to learn about, to get to know what's happened in his life that has brought him to the point, and this is the most exciting thing here, the point where he is now providing to teachers a product that is really going to make writing come alive for your students, and that I just think is the most wonderful piece of the whole thing. I'm going to do a quick kind of formal introduction, and then I'm going to let you guys really get to know Stephen and the product and what he has in store for you and for your students. So just on the official side of things, I will share with you that Stephen is going into his 5th year of instruction at the University of Phoenix. He's also been an elementary teacher for approximately 11 years. Stephen taught music, language arts, and technology in the elementary classroom. He loved working with both adults and children. And this piece I just loved. I got to tell you, this cracked me up when I read it and really opens the doors and let us know about who you are. He says that middle school kids in the classroom are the ones that he fears. I feel this with you. The quote here from you is that they never laugh at any of my jokes and they always seem to say the word annoying. I think we can all relate to that. Even if we've not taught middle school, if we've raised middle school children, we so know what you're saying here. Stephen recently released his own writing product for elementary and middle school students, and the product is called Writing from Imagination. And I want to go ahead early in the call and let everybody know, if you want to zip over to Stephen's website, it is www.writingfromimagination.com. No spaces, no caps, just all one big line there, writingfromimagination.com. And I encourage you, teachers, while you're on the line with us, to go over and check out his website so that you can get a look at some of what's happening over there. And then I'm going to say hello, good evening to Stephen. How are you?
Thanks, Wynn. I'm fantastic. It's a pleasure again to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to getting you to share tonight with all of our listeners about your product and about how it came to be, because that's very exciting for us as well. We always like to know the ins and outs of things. I think the place to start is for you to really outline the program for us. Tell us, what is Writing from Imagination for the folks on the line?
All right, Writing from Imagination is a teaching methodology geared towards late elementary, starting approximately around 3rd grade, and through middle school, maybe about 7th and 8th graders, which emphasizes auditory and visual instruction in order to help kids create writing projects. Most of writing prompts that are used in the classroom or given to children, they're based upon cognitive development and are presented to students in a written or like a verbal format, the typical what did you do last summer kind of thing. But with what I found that just brought to life some things in the classroom is that Writing from Imagination products, they initially present kids with, I have to address those middle school students because they don't like to be called kids. Students with about an 18-minute audio story, and then corresponding video clips and interactive high-definition photography are also part of the presented to the learner. So very little in the way of presenting that writing prompt via on written paper, their writing prompt is given to them in an audio format and then in a visual format because we're trying to capture those other learning tendencies that we all know about.
I love it. I love it. And you have some samples on your website, right? I went on there. I know that first one of the parrot that's up there. I loved him. He's so cute.
Yeah, we have.
So teachers can click in and see. So teachers can click in and see a little bit of what you're talking about. As far as I want them to really get the feel. If I were a teacher in the classroom who's using writing from imagination. Lots of places I go around the country, teachers have smart boards and projection systems, so they could project this video clip that you have, and with the sound that it has, I project this for them to watch and listen, right? And then from there, their writing begins. Am I kind of laying that out, what it would look like in the classroom?
Yeah, for the most part, what I usually found that works the best is that if I present them with just what I call the audio adventure, which is only the audio, it really allows the child or the student to get involved in the story of what they're presenting. In other words, if you picture maybe the 1930s when the whole family was gathering around the radio, and that's really all they had, they would listen to a lot of sound effects, but they would also have the speaker presenting them a story through all these sound effects. Well, I do the same thing, but what the ultimate goal is to have the student listen to the audio story and then develop a written story based upon what they hear. And then after they're not given any visuals at that point because I want them to create, the goal is to create those pictures in their mind, because if we can get the pictures in their mind, then we just have to help them write that picture out on a piece of paper. The goal with the audio adventure is to get those pictures in the mind just through auditory means, and then if they're still having some challenges or they might be more of a visual learner, then we throw in pictures or video clips that last maybe 10, 15 seconds that help to inspire that visual learner, because going back to the original means of why we developed this is because most of those writing prompts that we give kids are only written on a piece of paper. And I think we've tried to only not alone just knock on one door into their mind, but kind of just push the door down and push the door down and push the door down. And we know that we all gather information through various means, but yet it seems like we've just been pushing the door down through this written format to try to help them write, whereas we've got other doors and windows to get into their mind that then we can start developing their writing skills that way.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So really, even within what you offer, it's built for individualizing to each learner. I mean, it's for them all. Bring in this auditory piece in first, but just what you said, I loved. If you know that it's a visual learner, you can use the pictures, but the goal is to have them develop the pictures in their brain so that gets the writing going on that they can bring out themselves just through the sound, that they really create the picture.
Right.
But I love the way you scaffolded it up for them. I think that really resonates with teachers. And I love the idea, the analogy you just drew of us kind of pushing the door down with just that typical written prompt. So for a classroom teacher that this is resonating with, and I can imagine that it must be with lots of folks who are on the line right now, because I remember being in the classroom and that getting children to be able to write was such one of the struggles, getting them to really pull it out of their brains. So for the classroom teacher who may be having, I love the way that this sounds, it's resonating with what I believe about the way that children learn, and with how we could really bring forward their writing, but she comes up against the wall that says, Oh, yeah, but on the standardized test, they're going to just get this written prompt. What would you say is the way for them to work? How could we use writing from imagination to bridge the gap to writing from just that prompt?
Well, that's a great question. I think one of the things that we want to help a kid do is enjoy their love for writing, because if you know, and if what the writing from imagination helps to do is take down those traditional walls of sitting there with a blank piece of paper and then looking on the board. If they don't really enjoy writing, and if we can't get them to enjoy writing, then by the time those writing tests came along, it is such a hard hurdle to overcome. So we've really got to, in fact, on the Common Core standards, a love for writing is mentioned through that elementary and middle school Common Core standards that we all have to do. So, and then repetition is a great teacher as well. And I don't think we do at least from my viewpoint, the repetition sometimes is kind of left over to the side. I play piano quite a bit, and repetition is something that's why piano teachers practice 5, 6, 10 hours a day, and that repetition is a great teacher. What happens is if we can start developing these pictures in their minds, then when it comes to the standardized test, when they don't have any of this, they've already developed a habit of trying to take what they see on a written piece of paper, putting that whole story into their mind, and then writing from what they've imagined in their mind. Make sense?
Yes. I love it. I think that clears the air for those who go, sounds great, but I need.
Sure.
I think
I've been there.
Address that.
And
I'll
is.
tell you,
go ahead.
Oh, the math side of things, the math standards are where I truly do a lot of my focus. So when you said about the Common Core saying at the elementary and middle school levels that there's a piece in there about developing the love of writing, totally didn't know about that piece because those aren't really my strong suit, the ELA side. But that's great to know. And I'm sure the teachers on the line knew that, even though I didn't. And I just opportunity to develop that love. And again, that matches so with what the intent of our academy is, which is to empower teachers to really teach from what they believe. And I know that the guys on the line with us, the gals on the line with us, are all about really wanting to help children to have that love of writing and reading and of all of their studies. So I think what your product is here really is going to enable us to bring that to children. I think it would be a lot of fun.
Well, and that's another that exactly. And if we don't get them to have fun, and in a constructive way, of course, and trying to get an end product, then it's just an incredible hurdle to try to overcome. The other thing that I've really found out with writing from imagination is, first of all, I arrange them specifically for instruction in the classroom. So it's not a secondary product then being trying to bring into the classroom. Initially, that's how, when I'm arranging the soundtracks, I'm only thinking of the end all, trying to help that kid. And what I've really found out here is that, like one of the Common Core standards is production and distribution of writing, and I'm reading it verbatim now. It says, produce clear and coherent writing in which the development and organization are appropriate to task, purpose, and audience. And what I've seen in my kids' writing that was very hard for them to separate in their mind is the principle of organization of a story, and the audio prompts lead them through a specific storyline, and I do that with footsteps and all different types of ways to try to lead the child through the story. Then they're writing their story based upon what they hear, and it really helps out their organization in writing, so that when they're going from one paragraph to another paragraph, they're really changing the scene in their story based upon those scenes that they're hearing. So it really helps them to organize, and then the teacher, who also obviously would hear the audio prompt, would know when that child is possibly not following a specific, not necessarily a specific organized way of writing the story, because there is some leniency in where that child can write, but it allows that teacher to steer that student back according to that audio prompt. So it really helps those kids in their organization skills, and paragraph writing, it really helps in that area. So that was like a secondary thing that I thought, wow, that really does help, and I really could see those kids helping those organization skills that they need to have.
Wow. And like you said just a bit ago, on top of that, so now I go through this process and I do it repeatedly so that it becomes natural to me as I hear it. Then when I have to develop it on my own, I have so much stored up in me, or so much experience, that I'm able then to make that transition.
Oh, absolutely.
Because of the way you've guided me through on that consistent basis. Oh, I love that. Oh, man. Okay. Talk to me, okay, because in the little piece that you just said, too, about specifically the way that you designed things, I want us to back up just a minute and talk about how did you come to the place where you did put this together? Because you have a wealth of experience in a lot of different areas, and all of your experiences, I'm feeling like you brought together to create this. So tell the folks who are with us tonight a little bit about, your background, like how did this thing come to be? How did Writing from Imagination get born?
Okay, sure, great. And I think looking at my own outside looking in, I do have. I'm not brought up in the traditional, I'll go to get my bachelor's degree in teaching, and then while I'm teaching, I'll get a master's degree in education. I'm definitely coming from a little different type of a background. So my undergrad work was within political science, and I minored in music, which is a pretty odd combination, I know, but that's what I did. And then I went to a music conservatory out in Spokane, so I have a lot of piano and vocal jazz background. And over the last 15, 20 years, the digital recording scene has really come up, has really taken great leaps and bounds, and that's kind of how we can do the things that we're doing right now through this interview. That, then I got my master's degree at University of Phoenix, and just made the decision that I just really loved working with kids, but didn't make that decision until about maybe, I don't know now, I think it's a little like about 10, 12 years ago, something like that. So my initial employment was being able to teach music. So I was, since I have a music background, and in the state of Michigan, you can teach music up till the 5th grade without having to have a special undergrad, a bachelor's degree in music. So my undergrad was my undergrad was political science, and I minored in music, so I can teach music up to 5th grade. So anyways, obviously in music, you're getting a lot of auditory development. And I love kids, and I've been working in music or kids ministry for 20 years, and so I would do plays, and it was I loved it, and if I had to do plays today, I'd still do it. I mean, I'd bring in live animals, literally ponies into the school, and we would do these pretty extravagant, and I'm not exaggerating, like 350 kids in the play, and I'm not exaggerating when we would have ponies. I would bring small ponies, and we would ride them around the gymnasium, and it was part of the musical production, blah, 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 blah. Like picture Oklahoma, but with a real pony, and the kids loved it. And yes, we did have, And we had to make sure that, if this pony does its thing, on the gym floor, I don't need everybody going, oh, look, Mr. B, look.
Right.
So we had to teach all that.
That's where I was thinking the teachers on the line are probably going, don't you bring a live pony to my school. I'm not cleaning that up.
So we had that all planned, so and the pony did do the thing right in the middle of production, but we had somebody right there and got it right up. So
I bet gym teachers really love you.
And then after doing that for 2 years, I got my master's degree, like I said, at University of Phoenix, and it was all online. The whole program was done online, and I just loved it. So I developed a pretty good amount of technical experience. So the school needed to have somebody teach computers to the elementary, and the principal kind of knew that. So I said, yeah, I'll do that. So I was able then to teach 2 years of technology in the classroom, and really kind of had a background of learning what these kids really needed and what worked for them well and what didn't work for them well, and did a lot of research on all the various different computer programs that kids can be presented with, and so I had that developing. I had a good experience in technology, and not that I knew it all, but it really took some pretty good leaps and bounds, at least in dealing with kids. And I think I was teaching K to 8 through computer. So, and then I said to myself, well, I've been doing this specials thing, and I didn't want, as we all know, generally speaking, those special classes, via budget-wise, have a tendency to get cut first. So I didn't want to label myself as only a specials teacher. So I said I'd love, I've been doing college instruction, and I think I really can help some kids and bring some things down to their level. And I got in the I took the language arts classroom, and I realized that music and visual things were just really not brought much. I didn't see much there in classroom instruction. It was all writing prompts done on a piece of paper, and I had like 98% of my kids. I was teaching in the inner city in Detroit, and these were at-risk kids. Now today, what kid doesn't have some kind of an iPad or PSP or you name it?
Right.
So they're getting this digital computer, visual, audio. Unfortunately, way more than what they needed, but that's what they're that's what they're they've grown into. When I was growing up, we had Army guys in the sandbox, and we could entertain ourselves for hours. But now it's they have their cell phones, and I don't need to go down that route. But so what I found out is, the kids were getting bored in the classroom, because here I was, Mr. Bad Teacher, telling them that they couldn't have those things in the class because it's time to learn now. And so I'm already taking something away from them that they really like to do. And now I'm going to try to make them do something that I want them to do and they don't want to do.
Right.
But we all know. Listen, you can't beat this kid up verbally or cognitively, saying you got to do this, because generally speaking, they're going to walk away even further if you tell that kid he's got to do this.
Right.
So bringing that music and technology into the language arts classroom, I don't think most teachers, and I'm not trying to build myself up, I'm just saying as a matter of fact, most teachers don't have music background and technology background that they bring into the language arts classroom, because the states separate that music instruction because they say you're not endorsed in music. So a lot of teachers try to bring that in, but they might not just have a long history. I mean, I think I have like 30 years of music experience. And again, I'm not trying to build myself off. I'm just saying that that's where I'm coming from. So I was able to bring the technology aspect, and I've done some recording, music production work with kids and songs of that stuff, and I would bring all that into the classroom. And then I noticed, hey, if we can put some pictures up, kids can look at a picture of like a race car, and what fifth grader didn't like looking at race cars? But then you can bring, all types of. You've got, if you look at the picture, you've got the steering wheel of the car, you've got the body of the car, you've got the red color of the car, you've got the tires of the car. And then what we would do is we would start developing our vocabulary based upon what we see. And then we could, by basing that on what we see, not just, I was trying to have that picture of that red sports car put into that fourth grader's mind, and then trying to break down the walls of what they were reading in their English language arts book by saying this is a noun, a person, place, thing, or animal, or idea. And it's hard to sometimes get into that mind if they're only reading that on a piece of paper, but if they see the red sports car and it's something that they like, we can start developing vocabulary based upon what they see. And then what I could do is I could I would make up these little stories and record them, and these are only like 30 seconds kind of thing. And then I could tell them to just close their eyes, put their pencils down, because then we're just going to concentrate on opening that door to their auditory development and say, let's listen to this snowstorm. And what do we hear? Well, we hear the wind, okay? We hear the wind rustling through the trees. We can imagine ourselves maybe even better walking in the windstorm. What would we wear? Who were we walking with? Where were we trying to go in this snowstorm? And we're trying to get into that kid's mind through other doorways or windowways rather than just the visual, just the cognitive way, I might say, of picking that up off of a piece of paper and then getting in that way. So I hope I didn't go too far along, but that's kind of how the writing imagination all started. So, and then it developed into these other audio adventures. So go ahead.
And just to be sure that the teachers on the line really understand this, when you started creating those audios, like you talked about the red sports car, that visual, and then when you said then you recorded some audios for them, these were not recordings of you telling a story. These were the sounds, and then you kind of hit on that as well. They would hear, when you played the recording for them, what they were hearing is that wind and the snow crunching and tree movements and that kind of thing. It wasn't your voice telling them the story of it. It was definitely just the sounds that you hear as if you were in that situation and having that experience. And that's what the Writing from Imagination soundtracks are. They're not human voice telling story. It is the sounds of the environment.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
I think
out
of 2 full-length audio adventures that I've developed at this point, I think I have 6 or 7 words in 36 minutes of audio, and that was Happy Birthday. Yeah.
And
so
now,
no, none of it is. There are hardly any words in the audio adventures.
Yeah, it's truly giving the children the experience, the audio experience of being in it, and then they, like you said, close your eyes and imagine. Go into what you're hearing, be a part of this, create your story from being in the story.
Right.
Oh, what came up? Oh, so. You mentioned when you were doing this in your classroom that the clips were about 30 seconds long. Is that right? And that still reigns true now, that they're short audio clips that you build from?
Well, that's a great question. Initially I did, and then what we went is I developed, we could do, all right, let's go back to those short little clips. So short little clips, we would try to do word vocabulary development. And that went
Okay.
really well. Like picture the snowstorm, and they're listening to the snowstorm. Then what we did is I decided to do, I guess you could say, full-length movie versions
Mhm.
of what we did with the 30-second thing. And those full-length versions, there's like about I think it's like a 5-minute introduction that's kind of made for the teacher. It's an audio introduction, which is my voice explaining how the process works. And in all of the products, that is there. And I kind of put myself into different scenes. I think the first scene I developed is me coming across like an MC, and we're in a TV studio, and there's an audience, and so I'm trying to pique the child's attention, but they've got to really listen to the directions, because I'm not expecting the teacher in the classroom to automatically know how to do this. In fact, I tell them in the introduction that the child